Good evening. It is Monday, June 22nd at 5 p.m. The council will now meet in closed session to discuss non-uniform labor negotiations as allowed by RCW 42.30.140.4A. The council may be in closed session until 5:45 p.m. Thank you. The closed session is now concluded and the meeting is adjourned at 5:44 p.m. We will reconvene for the regular session this evening at 6 p.m. Thank you. Good evening. It is 6 p.m. on Monday, June 22nd. We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. City Clerk, could you please take roll call?
Councillor Kelly Berger.
Here.
Councillor Dan Butler.
Here.
Mayor Rachel Anderson.
Present.
Councillor Brandon Janice.
Present.
Councillor Harmony Rudder.
Here.
And Deputy Mayor Nicole Hartman.
Here.
And could we have a motion to excuse Councillor Gemsland for travel?
So moved.
Second.
Fabulous. Any opposed? Seeing none, we will move forward with unanimous approval on that one. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my microphone. Next up, we have an agenda. Is there a motion to approve the final agenda? Or are there any additions or changes, modifications?
I move to approve the final agenda.
Second. Fabulous. Any opposed? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move forward by unanimous consent. Fabulous. We are on our ceremonial portion of our meeting. And this evening, we have a proclamation for the Sequim City Band's 35th anniversary. So I will go ahead and read that. Whereas the Sequim City Band has enriched the cultural life of the city of Sequim and the surrounding region for 35 years through public performance, artistic excellence, and community service. And whereas the band has become a respected regional ensemble, drawing musicians from across the North Olympic Peninsula to present high-quality performances that inspire audiences, strengthen cultural connections, and support music education. And whereas the Sequim City Band and its chamber wind ensembles regularly contribute to civic events, community celebrations, and scholarship fundraising efforts throughout the region. And whereas the band provides meaningful opportunities for adult and youth musicians to develop their skills, experience personal enrichment, and share their talents in service to the community. And whereas the band demonstrates an enduring commitment to the future of music through partnerships with regional school band programs, mentorship of students, performance opportunities, and educational outreach that fosters a lifelong appreciation of the arts. And whereas the band envisioned and helped create the James Center for the Performing Arts, including the performance stage and Chuck Swisher Rehearsal Hall, which serve as valuable community assets for nonprofit and live performance organizations. And whereas the band welcomes musicians of diverse backgrounds and experience levels, reflecting the inclusive and community-centered spirit of Sequim. And whereas the band's dedication to artistic excellence and public service was recognized in 2023 with the Governor's Arts and Heritage Award. And whereas in recent decades, the Sequim City Band has expanded its service to the community by providing free year-round public concerts for residents and visitors alike. Now, therefore, I, Rachel Anderson, Mayor of the City of Sequim, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim July 1st, 2026 as Sequim City Band Day, and in recognition of the 35th anniversary of the Sequim City Band and in appreciation of its contributions to the cultural, educational, and civic life of our community. I encourage all residents to join in honoring the band for its commitment to mentoring and inspiring young musicians and for its continued role as a distinguished regional performing ensemble. Signed on this 22nd day of June, 2026. And is somebody here to accept the award? Is anybody here from Sequim City Band? Fabulous.
No worries. We have someone here that can take a picture. Mm-hmm.
Those who know me know I'm restricting myself to just a couple words, which is hard. Number one, thank you very much for the recognition with the proclamation of our 35th year. The Schleve City Band is very proud to have been a part of the community and in the way that we contribute to the community through our music. And we look forward to the next 35 years, where with the band expanding the way it has done in proportion to the expanding population of our community, that we've been able to serve over 107 musicians over the last year. And because of this, we can start expanding our mission, and we are definitely moving out with more activities, such as sponsoring Honor Band for the first time in 20 years, for providing more ensembles for any events that the city is thinking of having, and we continue to grow and expand. Thank you very much. For the record, my name is Vicki Blakesley, Vicki with a Y, Blakesley, Blakesley, and I am the president of the board of directors of the Schleve City Band.
Any comments from council before we move on?
I do want to say something. I immensely appreciate the Schleve City Band and all that they offer. Thank you for all of your work making more music available to our community. And thank you also for what you do with youth. It's so powerful. So from one musician to another, keep up the good work. I do jazz and voice, and I play the ukulele, but thank you. I appreciate it. I hope that the Schleve City Band is super successful and keeps growing in so many ways. Thank you. It's nice to meet you tonight, Vicki.
Any other comments? I just have a quick one, just a personal belief of mine, I guess you could say, is that no matter what background we have or what culture or country we come from, I have always felt like music is the one thing that can connect everybody. And so I'm very grateful for Schleve City Band and all of their service connecting the community. So thank you so much.
I'll just add my thanks and congratulations as well. I know many of you, and they have swelled to over 100 and almost 10. They can't even fit everybody on the stage. But the really impressive thing I heard in the last week or so is that their band members are now going into the schools and teaching music lessons for the next generation and for students at multiple schools. So I just thought that was a wonderful community service that they're offering. So thank you so much.
Vicki mentioned that the Schleve City Band serves 7 school districts. Did I hear that right? Excellent. Just want to make sure we have it for the record. Awesome. Thank you. No more comments. I will move on to the next section of our meeting, which is public comment. This is a limited public forum Individuals providing public comment must not disrupt or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of the meeting. This is not a forum for hate speech. The City of Sequim supports the public's First Amendment right to free speech, but it does not support hate speech. Speakers are expected to be courteous and refrain from making hateful comments, sounds, or remarks. Any offensive words and conduct shared by the public do not reflect the city's values. The City of Sequim stands firm in its commitment to being an inclusive community and rejects discrimination of any kind.
For individuals attending in person, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. I will collect the public comment sign-in sheet shortly. No one registered to provide public comment remotely. Individuals wishing to speak who are online but have not registered before the meeting will not be considered. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak on any topic, and there will be a timer visible on the screen. A total of 30 minutes will be permitted for public comments. When your name is called, please state your name if you are representing an organization and your city of residence. Our first speaker this evening is Gary Minch.
My name is Gary Binch. I live at 61 Aspen Creek Court in the Aspen Creek HOA development, of which we have 14 lot owners. I would like to thank the City Council and administration for reviewing the HOA irrigation meter policies and the demand to collect standby fees for prior years. We know that the city policy to cease charges on irrigation meters when they are shut off as requested by the HOA was enacted because 10 years ago, my wife Debbie and I went to see the nice folks at the water office at this city hall, and we were told that in fact, if we would have the water shut off, that would negate any fees while the water was shut off. So that was the policy. Aspen Creek and apparently 7 other HOAs in Sequim availed themselves of this policy for many years without issue. This policy, I assume, applies to irrigation-only meters as described in Attachment A to Ordinance 2014-017, Section C, and this describes the procedures and mechanisms for installing irrigation-only meters. And the final sentence in that section reads, and I quote, "The separate irrigation meter charge will then be addressed within the water rate schedule only." Well, is that clear? Yes, sort of. The Sequim Municipal Code 13.92.070, titled Administration Authority, gives a city manager or his designee the authority to adapt equitable administration of standby fees. Clearly, this is the case that a prior city manager exercised his authority to make charges equitable. Why? Well, perhaps because we only use irrigation water 5-6 months a year. We don't know. It's a little ambiguous. In my investigation of this issue, there are other cases of ambiguous language that would lead one to believe that a prior city manager would have cause to waive standby fees under their authority in Sequim Municipal Code 13.92.070. I have other examples, but 3 minutes will take up a little too much time. So I would call on the City Council and the administration to continue the policy of not charging standby fees on irrigation-only meters during shutoff periods and negate any and all prior year's fee demands. This only makes sense. Thank you.
Nelson Page.
I'm Nelson Page. I live at 30 Aspen Creek Court here in Sequim, and I'm here to talk about the same issue. And since Gary has done such a good job of covering most of the points I was going to make, I'll try to just speak to a couple of things that I think deserve some emphasis. The first one is that, as Gary said, we've gone to the city 10 years ago And every year since then, we have asked the city to shut off the water in the fall. We never received any kind of suggestion that there would be a standby fee. We've received bills for the people to come out and shut off the meters. We paid that bill. At no time did any of them suggest that there was a standby fee. We haven't been told how much this money, this standby fee back charge would be, but someone has suggested it'd be around $5,400. That's not going to bankrupt our HOA, but we only have 14 members. It's going to be a significant hit. And it's my understanding that some of the other HOAs may be asked to pay back as much as $34,000 or $40,000. That's going to be substantial for them. As Gary mentioned, there are statutes or ordinances that cover what we think should be done here. And the one that he mentioned, that's 1392-070, is the one that gives the city considerable authority to adapt procedures and make interpretations necessary for the efficient and equitable administration of this chapter. As Gary said, we think that may well have been what was being done 10 years ago, and we think that's what should be continued today. We would ask that the equitable and fair decision be made, that the back charges that the city is seeking not be pursued, and that there be no charges for irrigation-only systems like ours. Thank you.
Chuck Weber.
Out. I think I got 10 copies made. Hi, good evening. My name's Chuck Weber, and I'd like to bring up some issues concerning one of the SQUIM's proposed housing developments. The West Bay project currently under consideration does not meet the stated objectives of the City of SQUIM's own mission statement on economic development. The proposed 600-home Seabrook West Bay project is a type of tax relief finance model that primarily rewards high-income individuals, hidden behind two layers of limited liability companies. Company owners are protected by privacy laws, and so residents will not know who owns or financially benefits from these tax haven opportunity zone property investments. The opportunity zone tax incentives are structured to benefit taxpayers with large capital gains to invest. This limits the ability of most local residents and community-based organizations from investing in their own neighborhoods, and we essentially subsidized outside wealth creation at the expense of community ownership. West Bay's conceptual plan shows a minimal impact on affordable or entry-level housing that SQUIM's own recent independent housing analysis lists in short supply. Developing more high-end housing, fostering absentee ownership, and developing another commercial district, coupled with the failure to address short-term vacation rental or residency requirements, could effectively undermine our already struggling downtown corridor and set up more competition within our existing vacation rental and hotel businesses. Using selective transparency, the city staff, paid for by the residents, may be working behind the scenes with developers towards project approvals that do not appear to directly benefit the current residents, improve the local economic progress, or help maintain the high quality and especially the affordability of life in SQUIM for all of our residents. In other words, the opportunity zone benefits or tax relief LLC monetary gains do not necessarily ever make it into SQUIM, and therefore do not meet the stated goal for SQUIM's own economic development policy, which is to bring money into the community. The capital investments required to support the project are still in design, and the true long-term infrastructure cost to the residents are yet to be defined. There appear to be informational flow problems to the public within SQUIM's current economic and land planning processes, and the residents require a clearer cost-benefit analysis on all pending and future developments. We need to clarify our economic development goals and help quantify the total long-term cost to our community. who actually benefits from the increasing capital expenditures required to support this type of exponential housing growth? It should be us, the residents. Thank you.
And that concludes public comment.
Thank you to everybody who spoke at public comment this evening. Next agenda item is 7A, a public hearing. The subject of this public hearing is the extension of moratorium on master plan overlay applications. The public hearing is now open. Does the city manager or staff have testimony to present?
Yeah, I believe our Carla, our Director of Department of Community and Economic Development, will lead this discussion. Thank you, Carla.
Yes, well, good evening. Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, members of the public. My name is Carla Boughton, and as the City Manager indicated, I'm the Director of the Department of Community and Economic Development. I have some introductory comments regarding the public hearing that's before the City Council tonight. It is a request for a continuation of a 6-month extension of the emergency moratorium on master plan overlay applications that was originally adopted by Ordinance 2025 13 on July 28, 2025, and was extended in January of this year through Ordinance 2026-01. And as you all will recall, the purpose of the moratorium has been to allow city staff sufficient time to evaluate and update the comprehensive plan and development regulations without introducing new master plan overlay applications that could be inconsistent with the policy and regulatory framework that is currently under review. And so since the extension of the moratorium that you granted in January, the city has continued to make substantial work on the 2025 comprehensive plan periodic update, the associated development regulations. And while significant progress has been made, additional time continues to be necessary to complete our work, including finishing our environmental review of the comprehensive plan, public release, conduct the public hearings, finalize the draft documents, and then the completion of an adoption of the comprehensive plan and development regulations. So state law does allow the city council to extend the emergency ordinance for additional 6-month increments, provided that a public hearing is held, which is what we're doing tonight, and the findings that support the continued moratorium, as well as a work plan, be identified as part of that ordinance that identifies the issues that remain to be, that have been identified as needing to be completed prior to releasing the moratorium. So the proposed ordinance is within your council packet and is before you tonight, that have updated findings of fact, the updated work plan for the comprehensive plan and development regulations, and identifies the remaining tasks and the anticipated schedule. So again, the proposed extension would continue the moratorium from July 26, 2026 to January 26, 2027. The ordinance also provides that the moratorium may be terminated earlier when the comprehensive plan and development regulations updates, if they're done prior to the expiration of those 6 months. So staff is recommending extending the moratorium ordinance as DCD continues the 2025 comprehensive plan and development regulation update process as outlined in the work plan, which is the attachment to your ordinance. And happy to answer any questions or move on to the public hearing if you have anybody signed up to testify.
Any questions from council to staff? Being none, we will move on to public comment. This is a public hearing. All audience members wishing to make comments will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. When it is your time to speak, please state your name and whether you reside within the city limits of Sequim. Please avoid repetitious comments, personal attacks, or comments not related to the subject before the council. The City of Sequim supports the public's First Amendment right to free speech, but it does not support the use of hate speech or offensive language. Any offensive words and conduct shared by the public do not reflect the city's values.
No one has signed up for in-person comment and no one registered for remote public comment.
Well, with that, I will now close the public comment portion of the hearing. Is there any council discussion?
I want to say I appreciate the updated work plan and timeline. That's really helpful and also very encouraging to see it's moving right along.
Agreed. Yeah.
Nobody else, I'll make a motion.
Fabulous.
All right, I move to adopt proposed ordinance continuing the emergency and moratorium
Oh,
established.
I'm so sorry. I think I have to say it
Oh.
for the record. The public hearing is now closed. Thank you.
I move to adopt the proposed ordinance continuing the emergency and moratorium established in ordinance 2025-013 and extended in ordinance 2026-01 on the accepting, processing, and approving applications for the master plan overlays for an additional 6 months while the city's 2025 comprehensive plan and development regulations update continues to be forwarded to completion.
I'll second that.
And City Clerk, could you please take roll call?
Councillor Berger,
Yes.
Councillor Butler,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Janice.
Yes.
Councillor Rutter
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Hartman.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Carla. And City Manager. We will now move on to the consent agenda portion of our meeting. City Clerk, could you please read the consent agenda?
Items on tonight's consent agenda: claim vouchers totaling $2,135,133.69. City Council meeting minutes for June 8, 2026. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee reappointments. SMC Title VI chapter replacement, and the Utility Connection Agreement, a resolution.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, that is approved by unanimous consent or unanimous approval. We will move on to general business. 9A, also from Carla. SMC Chapter 20.01, Project Permit Application Review Procedures, Update, First Touch.
All right, good evening. I'm going to take just a minute. I do have a PowerPoint to go over with you all, but thank you very much. We're very excited to be here tonight presenting these next two agenda items for your consideration. So just give me a quick second. Okay, great. Well, thank you. So in your packet, you have a staff memo introducing the update to Chapter 20.01 of the Sequim Municipal Code. And you have a draft code in there, and then you have the existing code in there. So that was this agenda item contributed to a lot of your pages of your council packet for this week. But hopefully the staff memo and my PowerPoint kind of helps distill it all down and explains to the purpose of why we're doing a full update to this particular chapter of the Sequim Municipal Code. So the main reason we're doing an update to this is because, as you know, with a lot of land use work that we're doing in the DCD department, the state legislature has been busy for the last 5 years passing legislation mandating the planning departments do a number of things, and you'll see a lot of that through the comprehensive plan. But in addition to that, they made some amendments to RCW 3670B, which is the permit procedure state law, basically, that was been on the books for about 20 or maybe 30 years, between 20 and 30 years, sorry, don't remember exactly. But it established a framework for how land use permits are to be processed in the state of Washington. And that's been on the books, again, for, like I said, for many years. And jurisdictions have a specific chapter in the municipal code that implements that state law. And in the city of Sequim, our chapter is 2001. And we have been using that for many years, of course, for our permit procedures. But like I said, in the last few years, the state legislature has been busy, and they've done a number of amendments to 3670B as regarding the processing of permits. And the purpose for their amendments is to improve and increase housing stock to address the housing crisis. So the whole purpose behind the state law amendments, and then to what I'll be presenting tonight, is to provide some clarity, ease of administration, and predictability for land use permitting. So again, this work will improve internal consistency, coordination, and predictability in permit processing. And it also, while addressing the requirements of Senate Bill 5290, as identified there at the first bullet point, as well as other amendments, we did take the opportunity to modernize and organize the code in general, overall, and some procedures to, again, because there's only been a few amendments over the years since the initial adoption of this code. So here is some of the state requirements, kind of summary. Require integrated permit review across departments. That means the DCD department is the lead department for permitting and must coordinate with the other departments as appropriate. The one department that we coordinate the closest with, of course, is the Public Works Department and the engineering division of that. They've changed the term for determination of completeness to determination of procedural completeness. That must be done within 28 days of an application being received. One open record hearing and one closed record appeal. That actually has remains the same, but with some clarity around those two pieces. The main thing that they changed is the shot clock. They shortened the amount of times in general that the city, our municipal planning and permitting departments have for processing permits. So the state legislature did identify those 3 shot clock times there: 65 days for permits not requiring public notice, 100 days for permits requiring public notice, and 170 days for permits requiring notice with a public hearing. And they also, for the first time, they did not initiate this before, that if a jurisdiction is consistently missing those timelines, that there's going to be penalty fees as well as fee refunds to applicants. So this slide identifies kind of the key administrative changes that we are proposing in the updated 2001. It consolidates a number of chapters. It replaces municipal code sections into one consolidated permit classification table. That table that you saw in the ordinance, kind of, at the beginning, you might think, okay, that makes sense, but man, that is going to make a huge difference for our department. Just having it all in one table that's very clearly laid out. Reorganizes the review procedures into a sequential workflow by permit type, and I'll get into that in another slide, what those permit types are. It merges all of the public noticing provisions into one unified section. Right now, the current code has them in different sections. Now we have them in one section that's easy for us to administer. Again, ease of administration for staff as well as applicants and the public to understand what the noticing requirements are. It reorganizes appeals, the staff reports, hearings, and time limit provisions for clarity. And then it does include a post-decision review that's currently in a separate chapter 2001A into chapter 2001 as the last section there. So here's our permit types. They are a little bit of what we currently have and a refinement of them by adding some into them. So it's a bit of a refinement and an addition. So type A1 is an administrative review with no public notice. Type A2 is administrative review with public notice. Type B is hearing examiner review with public notice and hearing, and type C1 is shoreline permit process with planning commission review. Type D is legislative actions with planning commission recommendation, city council decision. And then this is set forth in 3670B, and we're duplicating it here, that the applicant does have the ability, doesn't have to, but if multiple permits apply, they can consolidate them and bring them to the highest applicable process so that we're processing permits, all their permits in one consolidated action. Here's some operational updates. The pre-application review has been expanded. The completeness review focuses on whether required materials are submitted. This is a distinction the state legislature made this year during this year's legislative session. So they are introducing this new word procedural or procedurally complete. And in the past it's been determination of completeness or determination of technical completeness. Now they have changed it to procedurally complete. And what this means practically is that what we're looking at is not for technical adequacy, but whether or not all the pieces that have been identified as required for the permit have been submitted with no substantive review. However, I have put some language in there that allows for a substantive review as optional if we have time and the applicant desires an early substantive review. We find that actually helps the permit process and helps meet those shot clocks if we can identify early in the permit process if there's any discrepancies or red flags. Again, our substantive revisions may restart a review as a new application, and we have some new clarified rules for when withdrawn, closed, or previously denied applications. And then the main part to this is that last bullet point where we have the shot clocks clearly identified, what those times are, when the clock runs and when the clock does not run, under like when is time excluded from that period. So, and that's going to be when revisions have been asked for by the applicant, our timeline stops, their timeline starts, because applicants under this now have their shot clocks where they have a certain amount of time to respond to city requests for revisions. So here is a summary table of kind of the key points. Our 5 permit types, the review authority, our decision maker for those review types or for those permit types, the notice and hearing requirements, the decision timeline, and then the appeal authority. We only have administrative appeals for type A1 and type A2. So those are director decisions that can be appealed to the hearing examiner, and then everything else goes to court. This update matters because it keeps our permit procedures compliant with Washington state law. It reduces ambiguity in how applications are classified and reviewed. It supports a more efficient coordinated review across our departments, increases predictability for applicants and our decision makers and the public, and creates a clear procedural framework for the administration. So one last key takeaway summary table for you. This goes through the different components of the new code. Application classification. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'll leave them on the screen for you to skim through, but it's going to be consistent with the table in your staff report. I want to just conclude by saying that this code has been in the works for about a year. It's had a lot of review by myself. I'm the primary author of it. Our team at DCD reviewed it. But I also just want to note, as I did in the staff report, that legal played a big role in the development of this code, as well as personal review by a city attorney and work by her paralegal. So this code does represent legal requirements by the state, as well as the procedural component of it, which is kind of under my lane. So I'm happy to entertain any questions for you. The options that are laid out in your staff report is to, after your discussion, to continue for a second touch, to continue the discussion, or to waive a second touch and move towards ordinance preparation. So with that, I'll close my PowerPoint and happy to hear your thoughts and questions.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Carla. In the processing of this over this year, has it come up with the frequent meetings, regular meetings you have with developers?
Yes, we haven't presented this at the developers forum, but we have talked about it. They are aware that we're working on this ordinance and have worked on it, and that we're presenting it for you tonight. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? My only comment is that I'm a big advocate for, well, not only following the law, that's also important, yes, but for process improvement. And so this is a really exciting update, in my opinion, because not only does it improve the process for applicants, but it also improves it for staff and saves time for everybody. And I'm just so grateful and excited for this part of the SMC. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a comment, but I'm ready to make a motion.
Fabulous.
And before I do that, well, actually, that's not true. I do have one comment. My comment is thank you, Carla, and thank you, legal. And it was very clear reading through this that this has been really well prepared and thought through. And so thank you. Thank you for that. I move to waive the second touch on this matter and direct staff to prepare an ordinance adopting updated SMC Chapter 20-.01 and ancillary code on the consent agenda of the next available meeting.
Second.
Thank you. City Clerk, could you take roll call, please?
Counselor Berger,
Yes.
Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson, Counselor Denise.
Yes.
Counselor Rutter,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Hartman.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Excellent. Thank you, Carla. We will now move on to 9B, SMC Chapter 20.50, Development Agreements, First Touch, also from Carla.
Okay, thank you. Again, for the record, Carla Boughton, the Department of Community and Economic Development Director. It is again my pleasure to be bringing forward this to you for First Touch. This is a companion code to 2001, although while it's dealing with a different topic, but it is related. And so these two pieces needed to come to before you at the same time. So the purpose of this new code, so this is a brand new code, is to implement, again, an RCW 3670B, so that same permit processing state law, bundle of state laws, but it's specific, a couple specific sections, through a clear local process. And this code does fill a gap in the Sequim Municipal Code, which currently has limited procedural guidance for development agreements. So this new code, and it's much shorter in length than 2001, so hopefully for your review, went a little bit quicker. It establishes the contents, approval standards, public review process, and administrative rules. It clarifies what can vest through a development agreement and what does not vest. And it ensures that development agreements remain consistent with the comprehensive plan, development regulations, and requires city council approval. Sorry. Oh no. There, okay. So what are development agreements? So they are, and again, these have been established by the state legislature as voluntary agreements between the city and a project sponsor. They're intended primarily for large, phased, or complex projects where long-term certainty is beneficial. It may address development standards, mitigation, public improvements, project phasing, financial commitments, and that's financial commitments the developer has to make to the city, as well as infrastructure obligations, again, obligations of the developer to the city. It is not required as a condition of approval in general, but if a developer wants to enter into a development agreement, it would be identified as a condition of the underlying land use permit. It can be considered in all zoning districts, and it only applies outside of the city limits in the urban growth area as part of an annexation. All of that framework is established again by the state law. So development agreements are a legislative act, and so it is your final decision and authority and at your sole discretion about whether you're going to accept a development agreement. It's not a project permit, so it's not subject to those shot clocks that we just talked about in the new updated Chapter 2001. They can be processed concurrent with a land use permit, but in limited cases, they can occur after permit, again, if it's requested during the underlying land use permit approval review. Vesting may apply to specific development standards during the term of the agreement, but building, fire, life safety are not vested, as well as stormwater and ADA, American Disabilities Act related requirements do not vest. And the city does retain the authority, again, in the state law and as mirrored in this code, to apply later regulations necessary to address if a serious public health or safety issue arises after the implementation or the agreement is in effect. So the process and oversight applications must include some agreement content. So those are spelled out in the code, what needs to be part of a development agreement. It establishes the procedures, the hearing step. So it has a hearing before the hearing examiner with a hearing examiner recommendation to the city council. It has requirements for how it gets recorded once it's approved. And it also identifies procedures for amendment, extensions, or termination of them in enforcement. So this table provides you, again, the quick summary of the different key takeaways under the different sections of the code there. This is just in one slide here, so this does encompass all of the ordinance as being proposed. So I'll give you a second to just scan that. So as in 2001, happy to answer any questions and comments that you have on that. Again, this has been worked on in conjunction with the city attorney and legal. We took quite a bit. I think we were on like 8 drafts when we got done, but that meant we really wanted to make sure we got it right and turned over every stone to make sure that this new code established, mirrored what the state law allowed and required, and ensured that we have a proper procedure in place should a developer want to take advantage of that. And I want to note just editorially that I have worked on development agreements in the past in past jurisdictions, and they almost always, if they're framed correctly, to the benefit of the city. What they are is primarily a vesting tool for the developer, but it does outline a number of certainty and milestones that help the city as a development builds out over time.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions or comments from council?
I'll go first again. Thanks. At the top of the presentation, my attention was slowly coming up to speed. This is a voluntary process, and on either side, or can the city ask a certain development to please enter into one of these agreements?
Yes, it's voluntary in the sense that we don't require them in the applicant, but the applicants can ask the city and we can decline or accept. And I do believe that that would make sense, that if we wanted, if we felt that it would be beneficial to have a development agreement, again, for these are primarily for large complex projects that are phased over time, but the developer can decline. So they are voluntary for both sides.
Anything else? I am open to a motion.
I'll take that. I, again, appreciate the high level of excellence from your team and legal. Thank you very much. I move to waive the second touch on this matter and direct staff to prepare an ordinance adopting new SMC 20.50 on the consent agenda of the next available meeting.
Second.
Fabulous. And could we take a roll call vote on that, please?
Certainly. Counselor Berger,
Yes.
Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Janice,
Yes.
Counselor Rudder,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Hartman.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
All right. Thank you again, Carla, for your presentation and all of the information provided. Thank you. We have no information only tonight, so we will be zooming right along to the report section of our agenda, and we will start with our youth liaisons.
Good evening, everybody. For purposes of the record, this is Lincoln Forest student liaison speaking. Well, I guess youth liaison, not student anymore. My first thing to report is that school for everybody who is not a senior got out on the 15th of this month for the summer, unless people are doing summer school. I'm not sure the date that starts. Do you know, Layla? All right. Well, I guess Layla's sarcastic answer tells me she doesn't know that. And my second thing to report is that the Boys and Girls Club is their summer foods program has begun. They are giving out free meals to people 18 and under within the community. They are stopping at sites like Gray Wolf Elementary from 11:30 to 11:45 a.m., Carrie Blake Park from 12 to 12:30 p.m., Elk Creek Apartments from 12:40 to 1 p.m., Mount View Court Apartments from 1:10 to 1:30 p.m., and Seabreeze Apartments from 1:35 to 1:50 p.m. They're also doing this in Port Angeles. I'm not going to read out all the times for that one, but if people happen to be there, go out. You can say hi to me. I'll be there handing out food, and that is all I have to report.
Along with the Boys and Girls Club, there's the Knoll Summer Reading Program. And then this past month, $3.8 million in local scholarships was given out. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that. That's a really huge thing for our community. And I definitely appreciate it. All the students who received anything appreciate it from our community. Colleges and trade school they're both really expensive. So it just helps so much. And then the Student Community Partnership Initiative is meeting one last time before the summer. That's something through School Education Foundation, and it's a board of students who are working on a project with St. Vincent de Paul, SCWIM St. Vincent de Paul, to help struggling youth in our community with basic needs. So that's all we have. Any questions?
The 3.8 million you said is locally funded, so that doesn't
Yes.
include the awards that were given by universities or others.
It's both. It's both.
Okay.
Yeah. But a large portion of it is local scholarships.
That's remarkable.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree. It's incredible. Thank you, community, for your generosity of sending our next generation out into the world. Quick comment that the Boys and Girls Club is just an incredible organization. I didn't appreciate what it means. This past week, I called the Boys and Girls Club because, summer's out and I was wondering, what am I going to do with the kids? And it completely floored me that the membership is only $30 a year. And that covers children to be there at the Boys and Girls Club from 12 to 6 every day. And that's included in their $30 yearly membership. It just floored me. So there's a morning program that's $15 per kid per day, too. And the schedule of activities that they're offering to the children is high class. I was just floored. So definitely going to be looking more into that. And I just want to tell you safe travels to Spokane this week, Layla. Thank you again for representing the city of Sequim at the AWC annual conference as the Center for Quality Communities scholarship recipient. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we move on to the city manager report? All righty. City manager, you're up.
Well, thank you, Council. Always a pleasure to meet with you. I feel like every couple of months I owe it to my senior management team to acknowledge them publicly for the subject matter experts they are. You've seen Carla present tonight. You don't see all of the background work that she does, but I just want to really call her out and thank her publicly. Going from a planning comp plan consultant to a director was certainly she's capable, but that's picking up a whole department, staff development, cultural changes. We've just been so blessed and honored to have her lead this, not only this huge initiative, but to take on a department that had a lot of changes and some dysfunction. So really want to acknowledge that and thank her for that. Kind of tied to that, I guess I would also let you know that Chris Goings is now back in Alaska, working on bringing his family down, closing his house down, and but staying in touch with Nick and his department leadership while he makes that transition. So again, just a great staff that we have here. Getting to a couple of my announcements I wanted to mention. Something that this is more just information sharing. As you know, we're getting close to the end of the second quarter, which is also the end of the open phase of the municipal funding process, accepting applications and whatnot. So that ends on June 30th. Per council's request, we have made 2 press releases about that, one in January 12th. This is through our communications department and Barbara, as well as a second one on May 28th. And then when Christy started, I asked her to also send an email out to previous applicants, letting them know that she'd be the contact, that Marin had left, and et cetera, et cetera. So we've really done what we can to reach out to them. Again, the application portal is supposed to end June 30th, end of the week. We are, per our kind of guidelines, we're to bring those application, a presentation to you at the end of July. And then we will bring some scoring to you for you to work with August 10th at your August 10th meeting. Yes.
Quick question about the municipal funding. If so, once the application period closes this month on the 30th, it will reopen again for the next budget season, January 1st? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I believe, I don't really publicize this. We score them. That's one of the scoring criteria. Were they on time or not, or whatever? Did they follow that guideline? Anyway, you're probably wondering, well, who has applied? As of this afternoon, we have heard and received applications from Sequim Health and Housing Collective, as per usual. The farmers market again, and then more a question, but we think there may be a follow-up application from the Sequim Community Aid. But that's kind of it today. We think there's others that are just waiting to closer to the end of the week. So just an update, more on that in a formal presentation to come. So And I think my last really bullet point is I appreciate your patience and understanding as we continue to do a deep dive and be as accurate as we can to only do this once with the county relative to our criminal justice agreements. They've changed a few things from one agreement to 4 separate agreements with each component of the continuum. And shorten the timelines and some other details and variables in each of those 4 agreements. So again, my hat's off to my senior management team. Mike has worked tremendous on this. Christina, Sue, we have a group of 4 that work hard and long on this, and I was on the phone over the weekend with the county commissioners, et cetera. So just know that that's coming up, and it's a deep dive, but getting closer to the end, as well as the HOA irrigation. You continue to hear about that. I can try to continue to keep you updated. Don't want to misstate or have to claw back anything, but we're doing as much deep dive as we can to be accurate in that. But we think we're getting some traction, and including even today. So more on that as we can share it as we confirm it. So just want you to know that.
Thank you so much.
Over.
Copy. Any other questions or comments? All right. Moving on to the City Council Committee reports section of the reports section. We have a HARB report. Do we still have that on?
Thank you. Yes, just to highlight that I created a report and had Heather forward it to all of you via email. There was a really great discussion during the last Park Arbor Rec Board meeting about the Gebhardt Park Site Master Plan. And the board members reviewed the draft plan for the draft site master plan and talks with Hannah about their observations, suggestions, and comments. And then we went through the 3 different phases of the project, how this is going to play out. There's like 1 to 3 years, 3 to 6, 7+, and different tasks and goals for those various sections. And what was learned, there was just a lot of really good discussion about how that site drains, what different types of park amenities could even be possible in such a place, and that one of the next step forward at the end of the meeting, they were talking about, well, now it's time to really survey it, find out how the water interacts with this space, and then after that, go through the process of developing what types of amenities or improvements are even possible, and then doing public outreach and engagement. So it was a really fascinating time at the meeting. Hannah ended the meeting by inviting everyone to come to the city's 4th of July party at Carrie Blake. There's going to be some amazing things, music, commemorating the 250th anniversary, and a fireworks display, which is going to be on the baseball fields. So make sure everybody plan ahead. It's not going to be on the soccer field, but on the other side of the trees. So music, and then go that way. And then, so that's what I wanted to highlight. My other committee that I serve on, the Sequim Arts Commission, met right before our meeting this evening. So I haven't typed up anything and done anything like that, but I can basically go over the they are going to be so the Sequim Arts Commission is has a new call out for the next exhibition in the Karen Kuznick Reese Gallery. It's going to be called Beyond the Canvas, and they're exploring beyond two-dimensional media. So sculpture, fiber, whatever people feel called to create beyond the canvas. So the arts commissioners will be jurying or reviewing the submissions at the next meeting at the end of July. All the information is on the city website. They already have 4 submissions. They talked about their strategic planning. They're going to do that in August. And there's 2 new members on the commission. So that was really exciting. Got to know them and talk about meeting norms. They did a review of the arts section of the website too, and EJ Garcia was attending from staff along with the Sarah Hurt, and she took some notes about ways to make it more appealing. And there were some other discussions about an entity that approached the city looking to do a special art presentation. And so they're going to be reaching out to them to talk further about it and get some more information for strategic planning. And there's going to be commissioners at Music in the Park, but they're not going to set up a full table, but they'll still be there. So you can still find an arts commissioner wandering around, and that will be great. And the music jam has been on hold for a variety of reasons, but it's coming back in August. So that's very exciting. And that's what I have to report about the Sequim Arts Commission. Thank you very much, counselors and members of the public.
Any other committee reports? I just have one for Sister City. We, if you can remember, we are restarting the student exchange program, and so our applications were open, and we got 8 applicants. We were so excited. The most students we can take on the trip is 5. That is our limit. And so we're having interviews. We had interviews today, having some tomorrow, and having a couple next week. So hopefully we can have make a selection by the end of the month and be able to, hopefully I can talk about that at the next council meeting. So that's my update for my committees. And I guess we will be moving on to open council discussion. We have 12A, the 27-28 council priorities poster. Open this up real quick. It's trying to open. And I didn't know if Barb, did you want to come up and say a few words about that, or Matt, did you want to say a couple words? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Barbara Hanna, Communications and Marketing Director. I asked to put this on the agenda just to get some feedback from you all. Every year or 2 years as you adopt new council priorities, we generally do a poster and a document to represent that. Your current poster is up on the wall there. You recently adopted your priorities for 27-28, and I basically presented 3 different just kind of design options for you. One similar to the plain text copy that you currently have, one that is similar but a little different to our mission, vision, values with a more decorative background. And then Mayor Anderson had brought up at the retreat, I believe, a more graphic representation, which was similar to what we did in 2023. So I wasn't sure if everyone was familiar with that. I wanted to give you the chance to look at it and just wanted to get some feedback from you. The first use of this really is to go into the budget book, which is in process right now. So that's why I'm bringing it to you now.
Any comments? Yes.
I do really like the first one, the graphical one with all those circles, because it includes the vision, which isn't on the other two. So I think it's very clean.
I like the inclusion of the vision. I don't particularly, I'm concerned about the graphical one just because there's implied meaning in some of the graphics that I don't know what we imply. So what do the colors mean? Two are, two have the same color. Are they somehow connected? It also, at least from my background, sort of implies a process chart. You do one thing before you move on to the next, and then you circle around, and I don't think that's our intention either. But I do like the fact that the vision is included. So.
And the vision can definitely be added to any of the posters. It just was not something that we have recently. So.
Yeah.
And I think just for the color scheme, I think it's just like our branding
They
colors.
are our
There's
branding
no,
colors, yeah.
like rhyme or reason of why they're
That was my assumption as well, but I just, in terms of a communication piece out to the public, we're not going to have an opportunity to explain that. So.
Yeah, and we really we have 5 colors, but one of them is gray, and that's why there's one duplicate color.
Yeah. Is there any significant cost difference between the one with the nice background and just plain text?
Nope.
So I like the one with the nice background, and we including the vision.
Okay.
That'd be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I like the list one better. I don't know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
with or without background for clarity.
Background's fine.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm good with adding the vision to that.
I as I was reading or looking through them, I had a very similar reaction to you, Counselor Butler. I don't like how 2 of the circles were the same color. And I thought, because I've worked in communications and branding, and I know how important it is to stick with those pieces. Oh, thank you, Heather. Appreciate it. We have some folks in the room who would probably love to know what we're talking about. As I was looking at that, I was like, man, is there any way there could be like a lighter color of gray or just something? I also didn't, that didn't pop in my head specifically in that way that you described it about it being a sequence, but it's definitely something like that. So if we did go with that, I would do spokes or something rather than a circle. I don't know. So my favorite option was the one with the lavender in the background too. That one floated to the top for me as the my number 1 pick. I was wondering about whether a very light purple could be used behind the text for maybe ease of readability in some, that might be helpful. Thinking for accessibility for folks who want to be able to process the information no matter how it's presented, whether it's this way or digitally. It looks a lot more cleaner on this screen. I don't know. So I was concerned. I thought maybe there could be some sort of highlighted text, something or other.
That's possible. The other thing is right now the text is in the gray that is in our logo. And when I initially did it, it was in black, which will make it pop more if I go with just the black text.
Yeah, thank you. I think that would be really helpful.
Okay.
I also would love for the vision to be incorporated.
Okay.
Thank you.
My personal favorite's the one with the bubbles, but that's just me, it sounds like. That being said, I'm not opposed to the text you see here with the lavender in the background. I would just say, like, for the accessibility feedback would just be to lower the transparency of that background. But would like to see it with the black text to see how much more the text pops. But yeah, and with the vision, that would be lovely. And I think that is it for my feedback.
Okay, so I can definitely make those changes. And would you like to see it again then before we finalize it?
That would be lovely. I would
Okay.
love that. Is council opposed to that? Okay. Seeing it. Okay.
Okay,
Fabulous.
we will put it as a discussion item on the next agenda as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Barb.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, council. All righty.
Rachel, just
Yeah.
thinking that last comment, part of the purpose of bringing it tonight was to move things along because it's going to be put to use soon. Procedurally, does this need to be formally approved? Is this something we could just circulate in an email and give us a chance to look at it and give feedback rather than having to wait another 2 weeks? And
That
I just don't know if it constitutes a meeting if we do it that way.
right. I'm looking at Barb, and it looks like if you just have it sent to council and then council provides you feedback, we can. That's okay. Okay.
Just don't reply all.
Yeah. Do not reply.
Gotcha.
All,
Okay.
please.
That would be my suggestion. Then we just keep it moving for the.
Okay. Okay. That sounds fabulous. And I'm not hearing anybody opposed to that, so we'll go ahead with that plan. Thank you, Dan. All right. Is there anything else for open council discussion? I'm seeing Harmony's hand.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple items. So I want to back up to our proclamation about the Sequim City Band. I love how July 1st is Sequim City Band Day. Has that always been a thing? Is that now a thing? Is this every year July 1st is Sequim City Band Day, or this is just a special designation for their 35th anniversary?
That's my understanding. Is it's just a special yay for their 35th anniversary. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for the clarity on that. I have one other thing just to remind folks that the Sequim Pride Month celebration will be on the last Saturday of the month at the Sequim Farmers Market. So come and join your community for that. And then another thing I wanted to bring up, I wasn't able to forward it to council before this meeting because it arrived in my inbox during the Sequim Arts Commission discussion, but there is something very exciting happening in our community, and I'd like to extend an invitation to all of you and anyone who's watching this meeting later on. There's something called the Sequim Community Service Center being put together, and they're having an informational meeting for the community to get to know more about what it is on Thursday, July 9th, so this coming month, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And they're requesting an RSVP so that for planning purposes, so they know they have enough pamphlets and refreshments for folks that are coming. And what this is, and so you can RSVP to the Chamber of Commerce. Beth Pratt is part of the planning on this. They're going to have an event on their website that you can get into and RSVP after Wednesday. And so let me just read from this, and I'm going to forward this to council. This is an executive summary that the organizers put together. The Sequim Community Service Center will be a nonprofit 501c3 organization created to manage a shared facility for Sequim's small service organizations across every sector: clothing, food, housing support, youth and family services, arts and culture, and more. Under one roof, these groups gain the infrastructure they need to survive and grow: office and meeting space, shared technology, storage, a professional address, and proximity to peer organizations that understand their work. So it's very exciting. It's about creating synergy between small nonprofits so that they can pool resources and be more effective in their missions together. So if you would like more information, and I will be sending this document to council via Heather. So watch your inbox, and anyone who's interested, please RSVP with the Chamber of Commerce for the informational meeting on Thursday, July 9th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Oh, yes. It's going to be at the old Shipley Center building. Right over there behind Taco Bell. Okay, that's what I have to share tonight. Thank you all for your attention, and I will see you there.
All righty, thank you for that. Is there anything else for open council discussion? Going once? Going twice? All right. Next up is the planning portion. So we have agenda planning Wednesday, July 8th at 9 a.m. I plan to be there. Nicole, I can't remember if you plan to be there.
Tentative. I'll know on the 30th.
Fabulous. Okay. Pete will most likely be there, but if you're interested, just give Heather a holler and we can get it all situated. I guess it'd become, first come, first serve basis. Yeah. All right. Regular city council meeting will be Monday, July 13th at 6 p.m. Be there, be square. All right. And with that, we will, well, I'm open to a motion, actually.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Any opposed? Seeing none, unanimous approval, 7:20 adjournment. Thank you. Have a fabulous evening.